Hey, Wemberg World Entertainment, and I find this story interesting. As you may or may not remember, Melissa Barrera, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, who was fired from returning for Scream. I believe it's Scream 7 that she was fired from because of her views on Israel and Palestine and stuff like that. And of course, after they fired her, Jenna Ortega said, well, if you're firing her, I ain't coming back either, and she left. And what did they do? They panicked and they went, quick, try and get Neve Campbell back and all of that crap. Well, Melissa has now broken her silence, and oh boy, is this girl not happy and calling them out, as she is basically claiming that Paramount lied about their record-setting box office, and she just said, you've done nothing but nostalgia bait and you're all horrible people. We're going to take a look at this. This is very interesting. It's like, ooh, hell have no fury, like a scorned woman. So it says here, Melissa Barrera is still raging about Scream 7. In her latest interview with Variety, the fired star of Scream 5 and Scream 6 sounds absolutely furious that the franchise moved on without her and succeeded anyway. In the interview, Barrera attacked the film itself, accused Paramount and Spyglass of lying about the movie's box office performance, and even took shots at actors who returned to the franchise after her firing, comparing them to people crossing the picket line. The entire thing reeks of bitterness. Yeah, well, why wouldn't you be bitter? You did lead, as like she was the lead of the two previous movies, and all of a sudden they're like, we don't like your views, you're gone, and brought other people back and all this crap. And it's like, wow. So let's see what it has to say. So Barrera was removed from Scream 7 in 2023 after a series of social media posts regarding Israel and Palestine sparked major backlash online. Which, isn't it funny that if you supported Israel, no backlash, but you go the other way, you're done. So at the time, Spyglass Media Group issued a statement condemning anti-Semitism and announced the actress would no longer be involved with the franchise. Barrera denied that she was anti-Semitic and argued she was being punished for speaking out about Palestinian civilians during the conflict. The firing immediately ignited a massive online firestorm. Supporters framed Barrera as a victim of Hollywood censorship, while critics argued her posts crossed the line. Shortly afterwards, Jenna Ortega also exited the project, though reports at the time cited scheduling conflicts tied to Wednesday, which was bullshit. With both younger leads gone, the franchise pivoted heavily toward legacy characters, bringing back Neve Campbell and leaning hard into nostalgia-driven marketing for Scream 7. Now, the whole thing with Jenna Ortega, they may as well have said, oh, what are you talking about? We never even hired her. They may as well have done a James Gunn with Henry Cavill thing. Because there was no point in going, oh, it's scouted. You know, she had to go and do Wednesday when she sat there and said, no, I didn't. I walked because you fired my friend. Like, she literally came out and said that. But again, isn't it funny that if you support Israel, you have no issues? There's no anti-Semitic, there's nothing. Oh yeah, support the way. You go the other way, oh, you're anti-Semitic. Oh, you're like those bad guys in 1945. Ooh, can't have that. It's just interesting. So, at one point in the interview, Barrera openly suggested that the reported financial success of Scream 7 was fake. So, this is how it starts. And this is funny because this part comes from the reporter from Variety, who says to Melissa, let's be real, the seventh one sucked. So that's what the reporter says. And Barrera added in agreement, I know, and I think they lied about the numbers. I don't think it made that much money. So that's an astonishing accusation to casually throw around, considering theatrical box office reporting is independently tracked across exhibitors, analysts, firms, and ticketing systems, and industry reporting services. Yeah, but at the same time, they can still fudge the shit. Just look at Disney. Marvel movie comes out and they go, it was smashed box office records. And it's like, yeah, but against the budget, it didn't do anything. So it actually didn't break any records. So it says here, and to be clear, Scream 7 didn't merely survive without Barrera. The film exploded at the global box office with roughly 329 million worldwide, nearly double the haul of Scream 5 of 166.6 million, and massively outperformed 2022's Scream that had 137.7 million, both of which Barrera headlined. Yeah, it's a big jump from those two, but at the same time, it's not a massive haul when you look at it. Like, wow, 329 million worldwide for a franchise that brought back the original stars and stuff. It's like, you'd think it'd have done more. So, ironically, the film's reception also exposed a massive divide between Hollywood access critics and general audiences. Critics heavily panned the movie, leaving it with a 33% Rotten Tomato score, while audiences responded far more favorably with a 75% audience score. Studios can message narratives, spin headlines, and even selectively market statistics, but they can't simply invent theatrical grosses out of thin air without the entire exhibition industry noticing. And perhaps that's the real source of frustration here. Scream 7 didn't collapse after Barrera's firing the way many online activists predicted it would. Instead, audiences still showed up and new life was breathed into what was turning into a struggling franchise. So, Barrera accuses returning actors of crossing the picket line. So his part is, if the box office comments weren't inflammatory enough, Barrera also took direct aim at actors who participated in the film after she and Jenna Ortega exited the project. Variety explicitly asked Barrera whether the actors who returned to the franchise felt like they were crossing the picket line. So that's funny. Variety is the one who says they crossed the picket line, not her. So her answer was blunt. Oh, 100%. I think they all are, and they have to live with that. She then doubled down even harder, saying the only way they were able to make that movie after what happened was to nostalgia bait as much as possible. That's a wild thing to say about actors taking jobs in a major studio horror film. There was no literal picket line or union strike against Scream 7. Nobody violated SAG rules here, but Barrera appears to believe actors had some moral obligation to boycott the production out of solidarity with her firing. Apparently, continuing to work in Hollywood now qualifies as betrayal. And it just kind of goes on and on. She even at one stage called them scabs, that they were scabs for going back to the movie. Yeah, look, she's absolutely butthurt, but at the same time, I quite frankly, I think she's justified in being butthurt. Don't know if she's justified saying, oh, the cast were, they're scabs and they crossed the line, blah, 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 for going back to the job and stuff. But her reaction towards the studio, calling them out and stuff, she has a right, in my opinion, to that. With what they did to her, it's like, wow, she put out a tweet, or a few tweets saying, like, look what's happening to the civilians in this conflict. And boom, oh, you're anti-Semitic. As I said, if she said the other way around, oh, Israel are all the good guys in this and blah, 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 no issues would have been had. But she went the Palestinian direction. Uh-oh, that's not allowed. You're the bad guy now. So I think she is justified in being angry at it. I do think there is obviously a bit of pettiness in there, saying, oh, the movie, I think it actually bombed and they're all scabs and stuff like that. That, I think, is a bit ridiculous. But look, at the end of the day, she got fired for a stupid reason. And it is a stupid reason. You can't be able to put crap out about one side and not the other. So it is what it is. But what do you guys think? Do you think she's out of line? Do you think she's justified? What do you think of the whole situation? Let me know. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like and share and subscribe and all that good stuff. Cheers. And I'll catch you in the next one.